In this episode of the Locked On NBA Big Board podcast, we are going to look ahead. Krysten Peek and I, we are going to talk about the 2026 NBA draft class because I was really excited about 2025, but I actually think 2026 could be better. So Krysten is going to tell me if I'm off base. Stay tuned. Big shout out to each and every person that has made the Locked On NBA Big Board podcast your first listen of the day. I'm your host, Rafael Barlowe, along with my co-host, the expert, Krysten Peek, and we are going to talk about the 2026 NBA draft class and a few of the names that have already established themselves as potential top 5 picks. But before we get into this episode, I want to let you know that it is brought to you by the College Football Playoffs. The College Football Playoff is here, and you do not want to miss a moment of the action. The College Football Playoff is presented by Allstate, and it begins with 4 first-round games, December 20th and 21st, and the games will air on ESPN, ABC, TNT, and Max. Also want to remind you about the Locked On newsletter. Check it out at lockedondaily.com. Your favorite Locked On NBA podcast has a newsletter delivered right to your inbox. And if you are not subscribed to the Locked On NBA Big Boy YouTube channel, I have no idea what is taking so long. Please subscribe, like, share, comment, click the bell so you can be notified every time we drop an episode. We appreciate all the comments from the trolls to the people that want to disagree, and even the people that are asking me, hey, is Krysten married?
No, I'm married to the game.
She is married to the game because I see her in the game, meaning the game of basketball.
Yes.
All right, let's talk about 2026 draft class. A lot of people know AJ Dybantsa, they know Cameron Boozer. I was really high on 2025, but now as I'm digging into 2026, I'm like, can we get 25 out the way? Because I really want to, I want to cover these guys and see them in college basketball. 2025, don't get me wrong, it's a very strong class. And maybe it's because I've been talking about these guys every day since August that I'm kind of getting a little bored. I want to break up the monotony of it. But I did a little deep dive into next year's class, and I am very, very intrigued by the talent. So we'll start off with you. What are your thoughts on 25 and 26? Am I off base by thinking 26 could be better?
No, not even a little bit. And I'm with you, Rafael. I tweeted out, I said, listen, the 2025 draft is very good. Don't get me, just what you said. Cooper Flagg, Dylan Harper, Ace Bailey, you name it, it is very good. But when we're looking at the 2026 draft and the talent coming up, this group, especially towards the top, has the potential to be very, very special. We saw it on firsthand in Istanbul, Turkey at the U17 FIBA World Cup, where it was maybe the best Team USA U17 team ever assembled. Yeah. And everyone that we're talking about, Nate Ament was not on that team, but AJ Dybantsa, Darryn was not on that team. So AJ, Cameron Boozer was the MVP, Koa Pete. Then you had Tyron Stokes, you had Brandon McCoy, who are the top players in the 2026 high school class, so 2027 draft. And they blew out every team by an average of 63 points. It was insane. And you know what? It didn't matter that it was a blowout. NBA scouts and college coaches still made the trip, including myself. I'm neither a scout or a coach, but still made the trip to see these players and the international prospects, but mainly to see this U17 team. So yes, when we're looking at the 2026 draft, length, skill, upside, versatility, all across the board, it has the potential to be very special.
I wanted to go there so bad. I used to live in Istanbul. It's one of my favorite
cities. Did you?
Yeah, I lived in Istanbul for the 2016-2017 basketball season. Loved it. One of the best years of my life. And
the best food in Turkey.
And it's cheap. I'm not a foodie by any means, but when I was living in Istanbul, the ratio was 3-1. I think right now it's like 26-1. So you can eat at like a 5-star restaurant for about $18 or something like that. But I love Istanbul. I love the people there. Had a good time. I hate that I wasn't able to watch it because even though they were smacking teams all over the place, and Team USA's second unit was by far the second best team in that tournament. But I did watch the games from afar. And let's talk about AJ. We talked a little bit about him last week. Well, I shouldn't say a little bit, a whole episode on him last week. He is the favorite to be the number one pick in the 2026 NBA draft. I don't want to necessarily sound like I'm a person that's just here for clickbait debates. I think there's some guys that some NBA teams that I've talked to may like a little bit more. I've actually heard people say that they like Darryn Peterson a little more, but AJ's phenomenal. Is going to BYU. What are your thoughts on AJ as an NBA prospect?
We all have to remember, Rafael, like these players, these kids are still just 17 years old, just turning 17 years old. Darryn Peterson is only 12 days older than AJ Dybantsa, who reclassed up. You know what I mean? And so when you look at the youth and the skill set, it's just unbelievable. But AJ specifically, we're talking about it, pushing 6'10", 6'10" guard, wing, whatever you want to call him, has the craziest hezzy I've ever seen. It's almost unguardable. Loves to play above the rim. So athletic, two-way player. His three-point jump shot still needs some work. We talked about this. Like you said, we spent 30 minutes just talking about AJ last week, and his free throw shooting. I mean, those are the two glaring improvements in his game, but everything else, like he does something every night that would be a Sports Center top 10 play. Like whether that's driving baseline and then turning back around on the opposite side of the basket and windmilling over a 7-footer, or coming down the lane off a missed shot and putting somebody else on a poster. Like he's so fun to watch, so athletic. And like I said, he's still so young and has so much potential.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, when I first saw him play, I talked about it last week. It was the summer between his freshman and I get it mixed up because he reclassified his first and second year of high school. I'll put it like that. And he immediately popped out to me. But I want to talk about Darryn Peterson. I think he's a little bit under the radar, if that makes sense. I mean, everyone knows he's good, but that I don't want to say average fan because the average fan is probably not projecting draft classes ahead. But Dybantsa and Boozer have got all the attention, and Darryn Peterson is pretty phenomenal. And they just matched up. Was it last week or the week before? They matched up.
It was last week. Yes.
Were you there?
I was not there. I was in Miami calling the Cameron Boozer game that went into triple overtime, but all three players played the same day. And during that game, Prolific Prep, that's who Darryn Peterson plays for, which is oddly enough, AJ Dybantsa's old team before he transferred to Utah Prep. But Prolific Prep got the win. It was back and forth. Darryn finished with 32 points, 10 rebounds, and 6 assists. AJ Dybantsa, 28 points, 10 rebounds, and 8 assists. So anytime that you see two players, the two best players in the class, two best players in the country, go head to head and put up numbers like that, like it was a tie ball game with a minute left. Like it was a great game, you know? And so I think there's a lot of respect there for both players. Darryn Peterson, of course, heading to Kansas. And then Prolific Prep is out here in Las Vegas. They're playing in the Tarkanian Classic. Their game last night was at 9:30 p.m., right? And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I told you, I looked at my dog, Gary. I'm like, okay, gotta go, buddy. It's Darryn Peterson, maybe the number one pick next year. I'm so glad I went. We're talking about a 6'5", 6'6" combo guard. He's playing a lot at the point. He definitely has that role. They won in overtime. Darryn had 26 points, 8 assists, 0 turnovers against Colorado Prep. And he managed to put a player on a poster. Like it's everything. And you think 9:30, Rafael, on a Monday night when the team is traveling in, they're like, oh, is he going to play? Is he going to kind of like sit back and not play hard or whatever? He was phenomenal. So yes, when we're looking at a conversation, and this is like a Cooper Flag, Dylan Harper situation. Everyone's saying Cooper Flag draft. Look what Dylan Harper's doing. I think it's going to be the same conversation next year between AJ Dybantsa and Darryn Peterson.
I agree 100%. All right, up next, I want to dig a little bit deeper into Darryn Peterson because I did a deep dive on his film. I was familiar with him, but I did a real deep dive on his film, and the kid is special. Right, before we get into the second segment, let's talk about FanDuel, because with FanDuel, you can get ready to take the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Right now, new customers can bet $5, just $5. You can get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL, and it is all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more. And it is on the same page where you placed your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. And never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, second segment. Darryn Peterson. When I did a deep dive and just watched this film, and correct me if I'm wrong. Let me know if my opinion is off base. I see like this super aggressive score. The word dog mentality is, it's a little cliche and it's a little overrated, but he epitomizes competitive fire, dog. And even this game against AJ, you could tell there's a respect for each other, but there's something there. There's a chippiness there. And when I say he was going at AJ, and actually kind of made AJ look like a bad defender, because there was like multiple plays where he was just blowing by him. Maybe he was in foul trouble, but the way that he attacks the rim, his body control is impressive. He has this ability to not only get to the rim, but just make acrobatic finishes in the lane. He's a good athlete. I like the positional size. I think he's advanced, scoring out of ball screens, has blow-by speed. And he has like small point guard speed, but on like a 6'5" frame. He's a pull-up shooter. And he's another guy that I'm giving the label as a professional scorer. Like usually I don't give that label to like 17-year-olds, but he is a guy that is, in my opinion, a professional scorer.
Yeah, it's a great scouting analysis. I mean, when you're looking at Darryn and he's headed to Kansas, and I think he's heading into a very good situation, playing for Bill Self, playing in the Big 12, and he is a dog. And you have to remember that game against AJ Dybantsa and Utah Prep, that was his first game back coming off an injury. And we saw him at the end of the game, because when you come back and you're playing in a big game like that, you're putting in a lot of minutes. At the end of the game, he was cramping on the bench and sucking down packets of mustard. And I'm like, ugh, I can't even imagine, but like he will do anything to stay in the game, anything. And when you talk about a professional scorer, there is no spot on the floor that he cannot make a bucket from or get a bucket. You know what I mean? And like he loves to get downhill, but he also loves the 3-point range. He loves the pull up. Like his midi game is great. Like he is a true 3-level scorer. And anytime that he has the ball in his hands, like he makes something happen, whether that's distributing, like he had 8 assists last night. This isn't some selfish play where he's out to get 40 every night. He just plays the right way. And the Prolific Prep staff, they said, one of them said, he said, I think he's the best player that we've ever had in our program. And when you think about the players that have come through Prolific Prep, AJ Dybantsa, Tyron Stokes, Jalen Green, Josh Jackson back in the day, Gary Trent Jr., like there have been some high-level high school basketball players come through Prolific Prep, and they think that Darryn is the best player.
So I was heavy on the circuit that year Josh Jackson was.
Yes.
And I tell people to this day, Josh Jackson, people disagree with me, Josh Jackson was the best high school player that I've seen. He played 1 through 5. He was tougher than everybody. He protected the rim. It's weird because you see the guys over the summer, then it transitions into the season play. But I was with Mo Williams Academy and API, and he just punked our guys. Like, he was so tough.
He was
like,
so good. He's so
people
good.
were scared of him. Like, he won matchups at the tip-off. Prolific Prep has had some dudes.
They've had some dudes. Yep.
In your opinion, why hasn't Peterson been given like the same attention as Cameron Boozer and AJ?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that when you look at Darryn, I mean, he played on the Adidas circuit. He wasn't a Nike player. He didn't play for Team USA because he had just come back from Europe playing in the Adidas Euro camp where he was awesome. I had like FOMO. Did you go over for it? I had FOMO for not going over to see him here, like looking at the stat line, all the splits, and I'm getting word from all the scouts over there. They're like, KP, Darryn Peterson, like he might be the number one pick. And that's when we started hearing it, I think, from like a national level. But I honestly, I think it's more just like we've been hearing about AJ and Cameron Boozer just forever. And so to insert another player in that mix, like it's almost like, okay, yeah, but he's a senior. Yeah, okay, I'm sure he's a really good player. We'll see what he does at Kansas. So I think it's just mainly, he wasn't on the Nike circuit, which Rafael, if we're honest, like Peach Jam and everything, like that gets more attention. And he didn't play for Team USA this summer. So that's why I think like on a national scale, he's a little bit flying under the radar.
All right, let's talk about Cameron Boozer. Cameron Boozer is a guy, we talked about it last week. In my opinion, the best high school resume for high school basketball that I've ever seen. He's won how many? Was it 3 state titles?
3 state titles. They're good enough to win a 4th, which is insane. The Knight Riders Elite, his team, coached by Andrew Moran, is the only team in EYBL history to win first at the 15U level, 16U level, and then last year the 17U level, which they beat AJ Dybantsa's team in the championship. So they've won, him and his brother Caden, who are headed to Duke. They're following in their dad's, Carlos Boozer's footsteps. They've won 2 gold medals with Team USA. Cameron Boozer was the MVP of the FIBA World Cup. He led in points and rebound, averaging 21 and 12. His brother led in assist, averaging over 6 assists per game. I mean, these two, I don't know if there's ever been a pair, a brother pair, a twin pair, whatever, that has a more complete body of work in high school, winning at every level, achieving everything than Cameron and Caden Boozer. And when I talked to Carlos after Peach Jam, it was literally the day after, and he's just like, I'm just so proud. He said, this didn't come easy. They're playing tough teams. And just the work that they're putting in the gym, early workouts, really, just disciplined with their diet, and Caden working on his handle and facilitating. Cameron has always been, ever since the freshman year, like the dude. Like he was the number 1 freshman in the country, and Caden has really had to work to get to where he's at today. So when we're looking at Cameron, 6'9", versatile forward, I think they're going to put him on the wing at Duke, because I think when we're looking at his NBA position, he's going to be more of a 3-4, maybe a stretch 4, but like he has that 3-point range. Last week when I was in Miami calling his game, Rafael, like he was hitting threes at the buzzer to send it into overtime, in like over people, and just completely took over and went into triple overtime against Gonzaga High School or Gonzaga Prep College, a great program out of the DMV. But he finished with 31 points, 13 rebounds, and 5 assists. Just a complete player. And if it wasn't for AJ or Darryn, he would be the undisputed number 1 pick.
Yeah, no, he would be the number 1 pick in a lot of drafts, or at least number 2. And in 2026, he could end up being like number 3 or maybe even 4. I don't know. Yeah, I like his game a lot. I think he's a 4. He is a mismatch. You put a smaller guy on him, he's taking you to the post, and he's so like skilled and fundamentally sound. Like he just knows how to play the right way. He can pick and pop. He rebounds. He's tough. I like him a lot. But I want to talk a little bit more about him when we return, and also want to talk about Nate Ament and Koa Pete. All right, before we get into the last segment, let's talk about Robinhood, because with Robinhood Gold, you do not need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and the perks that are usually reserved for the high society. Right now, the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn the very liberal rate of 4.25% APY on uninvested cash and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on IRA contributions. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of the high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. And the new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. And for specific product disclosures, visit robinhood.com/gold. Remember, investing is a risk and rates may change, and the gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC. Next, I want to talk about Rocket Money. Has Rocket Money ever helped you find any subscriptions that you forgot about or that you were paying for twice? That has definitely happened to me. I've had a few subscriptions that I didn't even realize I was paying for, and Rocket Money made it so easy to track them all down. It's like having a personal assistant for your finances. I know there was a gym membership that I had, and I totally forgot about it. I never went, and I was being charged $25 a month. I signed up for like a monthly unlimited car wash plan, and Rocket Money reminded me that I was paying for that even in the winter months. So Rocket Money is very good at helping you cancel subscriptions that you don't want. It also tracks your spending habits, and it helps you achieve some of the financial goals that you are looking for. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, and saves members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. So check it out, rocketmoney.com. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Again, rocketmoney.com/locked on today. That's rocketmoney.com/locked on. All right, last segment. I want to finish up with Cameron Boozer. Again, I think he's a 4. I think he's a mismatch problem. He can play on the wing, but I think he's at his best when you allow him to operate around the basket because he's such a gifted passer. I think his passing is so underrated. You send a double team, he's going to pick you apart. You put a small on him, he's going to take him to the block. And if you put a big on him, even though he doesn't have like the quickest first step, he still finds a way to get to the basket. I also think that he has a little bit of an advantage, not only because he's physically gifted and he's talented, but when you play with your twin brother, I think that adds 4 to 6 points because there are plays where you look at him and you're like, all right, he knew where his brother was at. Nobody else is going to. I mean, they just have chemistry.
They said to me, I asked Caden, I said, how does that play into it? And Caden said, KP, we're so close, and they're always in the gym together. Like when they're on the road for Team USA, they're rooming together. Like they are so close. And he's like, I think Cam knows where I'm going to be on the court before I even know where I'm going to be on the court. That's just like how connected they are. I love watching twins play basketball. Not only because I'm a twin, but also because it's so fun to see like Ament and Asar Thompson when they were at OTE playing. I mean, it's just so fun to watch.
Yeah. My mom's a twin, so I have firsthand knowledge of like that twin bond. But what's interesting about them is that they're twins and they don't play the same position. Their games are not similar at all, which I think even helps the chemistry even more in a sense. I mean, I guess with the Thompson twins, you can get mixed up because you didn't know which one you were guarding. But with the Boozers, you have your instant pick and roll combination.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to help Duke out because, in my opinion, Duke's point guard play has been strong the last few years. And I think next year they're going to not only have strong point guard play, but you're going to have your point guard with instant chemistry with your best player.
Side note on this, can you imagine if Dylan Harper went to Duke? Like that would be That would be insane. Anyways, go on. Because
Yeah.
you're right. They don't have a true point guard. Imagine if Dylan Harper was there. Anyways, we can talk about. Let's talk about that at another time.
I think you could have put him anywhere.
Yeah.
Anywhere. Because I feel like the point guard playing college basketball is you either have a 6-foot guard that is score first, or you have a guard that is pass first and can't score. And Harper combines both, along with ideal positional size. Let's talk about Nate Ament. I like him. Now, physically, he looks like Zachary Risacher. Maybe it's the number 10, maybe it's the build, the hair, but he's got a lot more boogie to his game than Zachary Risacher. Maybe not the same shooter, but he has more offensive creativity. And he's a player that if you like Risacher, and Risacher went number 1 in 2024, Nate Ament could be a number 1 pick in other drafts. And that just shows you how deep this 2026 class is.
I love Nate Ament. I mean, I didn't know a lot about him until maybe last year, and then totally got to know him as much as I could. I saw him as much as I could over the summer. One of my favorite stories about Nate Ament and AJ Dybantsa is I went to Rucker Park for the Slam, All-American game, which nobody ever takes seriously. And the only 2 players on the court that were picking up full court defense were AJ Dybantsa and Nate Ament. Nate was like all business. He was so serious. I think the week before he played in the Under Armour All-America game, and like same thing, like during practices, during scrimmages, he took it very seriously. And I was talking to his dad afterwards, and I was talking to him, and I was like, dude, it's the end of the summer. These are just fun. You don't have to go this hard. And he's like, if I don't go this hard, it's a missed opportunity to get better. And I'm like, and I'm like, whew, like that just blew me away that's his mentality. So when we're looking at a long-term prospect with tremendous upside, I think in this group in particular, Nate Ament has the most long-term potential at the NBA level.
Now that's a strong statement. I do feel like there is a lot more untapped potential.
Yeah.
And I guess I never thought of it till you mentioned it. These guys, the guys that we mentioned, from AJ to Darryn Peterson to Cameron Boozer, are actually like really, really advanced and polished to be 17 years old. But Nate, like you said, he has a high upside. I think he physically is not like, AJ's well-built physically. Cameron is he's a boozer. His dad was a grown man. His dad had like hair on his chest when he was a freshman. Like you can see it peeking out his jersey. He has a full beard. So, the Boozer twins are physically advanced. Darryn Peterson has cuts, but Nate still looks like he has the teenage body. And out of the players that we mentioned, he's unsigned. If you had to predict, where do you think he's leaning?
Okay, so his final schools are Notre Dame, Tennessee, Louisville, and Texas.
Very odd for those schools to be in top 5. I'm not saying those aren't good programs. Tennessee is number 1, but they're not a school that is known for just pumping out one and dones and top 5 prospects. Notre Dame, Texas has had some success there, but you don't see a lot of the blue bloods on there.
Okay, I'm gonna give a hot take.
Uh-oh.
I think it's gonna be Notre Dame, and I'll tell you why. Notre Dame, they've hit the recruiting trail, and I think they have like a top 3 recruiting class coming in. If Nate Ament signs, I think they might be number 1 or number 2. They also signed 5-star Jalen Harlison from LaLue. What is he, like a top 10 player in the class? They have sharpshooter Ryder Frost, and then a couple other 4-stars, Tommy Aneman, and then Brady Kohler. So they already have a class. And I know Nate, he's a different kid, right? We didn't see any blue bloods there. He's not about the flashy stuff. So when you're looking at a chance to get some sort of education at Notre Dame and be associated with that program, I think it's going to be Notre Dame.
I want to do a podcast with you to talk about the shift. From AJ going to BYU, the 2 guys at Rutgers this year.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be I think we're going to see more of that. And I had tweeted, and it drew some attention, but I tweeted that if I were a top prospect that really wanted the ball in my hands, I would go to a Power 5 school, but I wouldn't go to like some of the blue bloods. I would say I would take like the Cade Cunningham, Trey Young route.
Yeah.
What AJ's doing. But anyway, that's a whole different subject. But Nate is a player that is really intriguing. I love the fact that he's like this athletic wing. He's an athletic finisher, but he can attack the rim, has these really long strides to the basket, can create his own shot. I love the positional versatility. And I think he's just going to get better once he gets stronger. And out of all the players that we mentioned, he has the most room to grow. Let's talk about Koa Pete. I've been hearing this name for years. He was on that dominant Team USA team that played in Istanbul. He's a man child. And this is somewhat of a hot take for you. I thought he was better than Cody Williams when they were high school teammates.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Like when it's so funny, we go from Nate Ament, who like still has so much room to grow and fill out his frame, and then we go to a complete unit in Koa Pete, who's 6'8", 240, plays a lot of bully ball. Like this is a kid who, when he was 15, was playing up 2 divisions for Compton Magic on the Adidas circuit and was the best player on the court physically. He comes from a football family. His dad played, his older brother.
No, he had a brother that played in Nebraska.
His brother played in Nebraska, and he's now playing for the Las Vegas Raiders. He also has another brother who played at, I think it was Michigan State. And then his brother that he's closest with, that he played basketball with, is an offensive lineman at Arizona State. Mm-hmm. And then I asked Koa, I was like, Koa, like, why everyone in your family? He said all his brothers, everyone played football. I said, why did you choose basketball? And he's like, I didn't like the weather. He's like, I didn't like playing out in the heat and the rain. He's like, basketball, we play indoors, And I'm like, oh, okay. But when you see it, just a pure athlete like that has the physicality already, and he could be a 5-star football player or a 5-star basketball player. He just happened to choose basketball, and he is very, very good at it. Like, I think when we're looking at that U17 team, Rafael, like in Istanbul, he was the most dominating player on the court every time he played.
Yeah, like I said, I felt like he didn't miss. He's still undecided, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes, he is.
You have a crystal ball?
Well, he's down to Houston, Arizona, Baylor, Arkansas, and Arizona State. And I think Texas is still in there, but they're on the outside looking in.
If he goes to Houston, that would be a phenomenal class. And again, another program, not necessarily considered a blue blood, but another program that I feel like that's a shift. Like Kelvin Sampson wasn't having one and done guys. He was just all a bunch of tough guys. And now that I think of it, Koa Pete fits what Kelvin Sampson is looking for.
Can you imagine Krysten Peek and Koa Pete in the front court?
And Kingston Flemings?
Yes, and Kingston running point. Like that, I'm gonna try to speak it into existence. Like I want him at Houston. Yeah, Houston or Baylor. I mean, there is a chance like NIL could get in the mix and he would stay home to go to Arizona or Arizona State, but I hope it's Houston.
Yeah, no, I would like to see that. And I think NBA scouts would love to see that because from a traveling standpoint, you would much rather go to a city like Houston where you can get in and out as opposed to going to some of the college towns, which aren't as easy to, just as far as like logistically. But no, he is a football player playing basketball. When I looked at my notes, I just put strong frame, broad shoulders, plays bully ball in the mid post, but he's a good mid-range scorer. He's tough, he's active, loves contact, and he's quick off his feet. And I think that he is a player that still has some room to grow. What are your concerns about him as far as if the physicality, if you take away some of that advantage in the college level?
His 3-point jump shot is always room for improvement. And that's what, we've been hearing from NBA scouts from the last 2 years. he is showing improvement in that area. I do think there's some times where he looks a little heavy-footed, and he just gets a little lazy defensively. But with the physicality, do you think it's going to be taken away? I mean, he's already so strong. And you're right. Like, he plays bully ball as much as he can, and he loves that little mid-range touch. Like, I don't know if that's going to be a problem. And if you go to a place like Houston and Kelvin Sampson, like, have you been to a Houston practice, Rafael? Like, it stresses me out, and I'm not even on the floor practicing. Like, it is so intense, and Kelvin gets the best out of these players day in and day out. And that's why you see these strong guards coming out of there. That's why you see this tough mentality Houston team. Like, I don't think the physicality part of it would be a problem.
The reason I was asking is just because college basketball is getting older. And so as opposed to physically dominating forwards that are like Nate Ament size, 180, 190 pound forwards, I think he is going to have to go up against grown men. I don't think it's going to be that much of an issue, but I do think that it's going to be different because right now he's just so much more physically dominant. I mean, he's 9 times out of 10, he's the heaviest player on the floor. And once he goes to college basketball, that's going to change a little bit.
No, I agree. That's a good point.
Well, that wraps up this episode. It's always fun having an expert on. And thank you for making this your first listen of the day. Again, check out the Locked On newsletter at lockedondaily.com. Again, fun episode with Krysten Peek. She will be back on Thursday. Again, thank you for making this your first listen of the day. And we are